Welcome acolytes again today. Well, as you can see, there is some Kingdom Come Deliverance here. The feeling from Neonite. He actually does why I'm specifically watching Neonite, because he does really good stuff. Like, if it comes to stuff like that, if it came especially to his Witcher things, he's actually quite on point with them. So, as it is, 50 hours of Kingdom Come Deliverance for him. And yes, of course, I didn't get the freaking review thing because I am right now irrelevant. But at the end of the day, acolytes, I'm gonna watch this. And when Kingdom Come Deliverance comes out, I'm gonna freaking instantly play it and probably get headaches on the next day, as I did with the first one. It will be freaking epic, or at least I hope so. But what we see right now just looks, godlike. So let's just start it.
I have now played over 50 hours of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Good.
I went to a small event in December where I played the game for an entire day, and then on Friday of last week, Warhorse sent me a code for the full game, an entire month before release. So today I want to answer all of the non-spoiler questions I know you guys.
And by the way, just for a short time, a month. An entire month before release. This is something that these days just doesn't happen.
Because I've spent every possible second taking in the open world, the combat, the stealth, the blacksmithing, the lockpicking, the...
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Let's just get started. Although keep in mind this is still a preview video focused on gameplay in the open world, no spoilers, and I'll have a full review much closer to launch because there's a certain cutoff point in the game I can't talk about or show footage past anyway. Also, I do need to say a big thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring this video,
okay,
but
Rocket
more
Money
on them a little later. So, to start, we should get into the combat first, because to put it very simply, Warhorse have done something special here. They've taken the core of KCD1's combat system and have improved, well, just about everything, and here's my favorite see-it-with-your-own-eyes example of exactly what I mean. If you happen to remember, KCD1 had a move called the Master Strike, which was the move that would get you a free hit every time an enemy swung at you. You'd see a green shield center screen, and with one click, you'd deal out an unblockable counterattack. It was super easy to pull off, no brain power required, and in my opinion, it really undermined what the rest of KCD1's combat system was going for. Warhorse clearly felt similarly, because now, in KCD2, the Master Strike is completely different and is just way more interesting. To do it, you have to be watching which direction your opponent is going to attack from, and then, when you see that green shield, you have to attack from the exact opposite direction to earn a Master Strike. It's very satisfying, and if you hadn't already guessed, this new system allows you to strategically avoid getting Master Striked yourself, because enemies can only Master Strike you if you attack from the opposite direction of where they're already defending. So, for example, if they're blocking their upper left, don't go for their upper right until they're attacking and you see that green shield. That way you're guaranteed to avoid getting Master Striked.
By the way, this system sounds like the system of For Honor. I think they got inspired by this and they took it over. And it already sounds way better than the first game. Way better. So this is already sounding quite nicely.
Plus, that's not even to mention that the Master Strike is now a sword-only skill, so if you're fighting peasants using clubs, you don't have to worry about getting Master Striked. That move is what now sets refined sword fights apart from beating bandits down with the more brute force weapons. Overall, Warhorse have just put a lot of effort into making the different weapon types feel different. A fight with long swords feels like a truly thoughtful battle, whereas if you're going after roadside bandits while armed with an axe or a mace, you feel like a brute because you are one. That's the idea, and it's fun in a completely different way.
Alert!
Yeah, FM.
Next up, though, I want to talk about the open world exploration in KCD2, because it does not disappoint. I frequently found myself, even during that one-day preview event, having random NPCs telling me about rumors they'd heard that I'd then try to verify, or giving leads on loot that every single time I would take as a challenge to track down somewhere on the map. Did some merchant mention spilling his inventory south of your location? Well, if he did, the game won't disappoint you. You'll be able to find it, and it'll be worth your while. Did the bailiff mention a bunch of fresh graves near the village? Well, if you're not afraid of getting your hands dirty, go dig those graves up, and if you hear gossip about a goblin's hut, well, no spoilers, but the hut you hear the peasantry speak of is real, though I'll let you find out for yourself what's inside. Overall, though, KCD2's world just has more consistently interesting open-world content than the first game did. it very much rewards unguided exploration, and
Good.
the actual side quests, like the substantial ones you'll be led directly to, are very high quality as well. There are a ton of them, and while I want to keep this video very spoiler-free, the one thing I will say is that if you loved the quest in KCD1 where Henry and Father Godwin share a wild night out together, well, KCD2 has what I'd call a very long spiritual successor to that quest. One I can't wait for people to experience.
Well, I just want someone to love me.
You have noble ambitions. That is good.
I also want to point out that building your Henry up, because after the prologue, I'll keep this vague, but essentially you're left with not even a shirt on your back, plus your stats take a hit around then too, but recovering your Henry from that low point doesn't need to be a long, grueling process. It's not like Warhorse factory reset him. At the preview event I went to, one of the very first things I did was leave the starting town and head into the open world. From there, I stole some beginner equipment from a grave, then found and killed a bandit with nice armor, and then, after equipping said armor, I was pretty much good to go. I wasn't powerful, but I was able to get by perfectly fine.
It's a start.
Some are not going to love to hear this, some will, but this isn't like KCD1 where Henry just sucks at everything when the game starts.
Yeah.
Instead, he's okay at things, even at his lowest point, so just acquiring decent armor already gets you in a pretty good place. And that's not even to mention that for free, with a little effort, you'll be able to recover Henry's horse Pebbles and his dog Mutt. So really, instead of thinking of it as building Henry up, like I said before, you're more putting him back together at the start of the sequel. And
that's something that I was really worried about. How will they just wipe everything and be like, yeah, he's actually Scheisse again, or will he just start from a different point? And that sounds like a good middleman, because let's be honest, if we start overpowered, it's shit. It's honestly quite bad. I personally, even if there was the possibility of restarting or starting with my old character, I won't do it. I just won't. Because I wanna start from the beginning. Just be at the start of everything and actually, deserve what I did and what I will do. So that's that.
I think it works really well. It's a good balance. You don't have a Henry who is instantly overpowered, but you still have a Henry who feels like the one who experienced everything he did in the first game. Now, that said, before I get into talking about stealth and the new crime system, plus the new blacksmithing minigame, I do need to quickly tell you about Rocket Money.
Okay,
to get personal for a second, I'm in my 20s, I've been working towards saving up for a house, and I can tell you that Rocket Money has been a borderline miracle in helping me do exactly that.
Okay.
If you don't know, Rocket Money is an all-in-one, free-to-download personal finance app that helps you manage subscriptions, lower bills, make a custom budget, and even grow your savings, all in one place. For me, Rocket Money putting all of my subscriptions right in front of my eyes and letting me cancel them with just a couple of clicks has been incredibly helpful. I've caught so many unwanted subscriptions before they renewed. And the app even automatically scans your bills to find savings, which, I mean, with just a couple of clicks, Rocket Money can help to negotiate your bills down, from things like internet service to cable and even phone bills, which has saved me a ton of money. And almost equally important,
Check 24, it's in Germany.
Hassle. To save more and spend less, join the over 5 million members using Rocket Money today. Just go to rocketmoney.com/neon or click the link in the description to get started.
So I find it very good because
anyway,
I cannot
let's now talk about
everything.
crime in KCD2 and also stealth, because those two go hand in hand. Now keep in mind, most things in the stealth category especially are basically unchanged. Lockpicking, pickpocketing, really the entire stealth loop hasn't been messed with much. It's only been polished up, but where Warhorse have really put their focus this time is on specific consequences for your crimes, many of which will likely be committed during stealth. For example, there's now a lot more depth in terms of NPCs recognizing things you stole from them if you're dumb enough to go back to their house wearing their clothes. And there's also a long list of possible punishments now, from branding to the pillory to caning to even execution. But I will say, if you played KCD1, I don't think you'll need to deal with the punishment system often, or maybe ever, unless you're specifically wanting to be punished. Stealthing around has been made a lot less frustrating in KCD2. I said it was cleaned up, and what I mean is, well, in KCD2, you're only ever really punished in stealth if you specifically do something beyond your capabilities. If you start picking a hard lock right next to somebody's head while your thievery skill isn't very leveled up, yeah, they're going to wake up and notice you, but if you're being thoughtful and careful and playing within your means, you will be okay. You won't get caught, at least in my experience. Way more importantly though, you're not going to find yourself ever wanted for a crime you weren't spotted doing. That happened a
Oh,
lot in the
that's-
first game. You'd commit some crime absolutely no one saw, and next thing you know, you're wanted and the omniscient guards are trying to throw you in jail.
Yeah, that
In
was
KCD2,
really annoying.
everything feels much more realistic and immersive.
By the way, I committed a lot of crimes in the first game. A lot of crimes. I stole a bunch of shit. Really, really a lot of shit.
If you're not spotted or if you clean up any potential witnesses, you will get away with it. And even if you do
Good.
get caught and don't want to resort to murder, you can often make deals with the eyewitnesses.
I won't let you get away with this.
I apologize. I must have made some mistake. But surely you'll gladly forgive someone of my standing, won't you?
All right. No doubt it'll come in handy one day to be in your good books. So run along. But don't try anything like that again.
You might lose a little reputation doing this, which, by the way, reputation works very similarly to how it did in KCD1.
Okay, fair
but
enough.
my point is that the new crime system is something you'll most likely avoid unless you're planning on doing a run where you're a criminal who's just really bad at what he does. Anyway, one new crime mechanic I want to mention is that you can now steal horses and either sell them or permanently acquire them. In the first game...
Really? Nice. That's what I wanted to do in the first part, in the first game. Just steal a bunch of them and then just sell it. Oh, nice. This is something I have to learn. This is something that
you
I'm
could
excited
steal a
about.
horse, but they wouldn't be yours and they couldn't be sold. But now, any horse you steal can be taken to a black market dealer who will either pay for it or will train that horse to be loyal to you and respond to your whistle.
I'd like to keep this horse.
I hope the old one served you well, and that it won't be tough to say goodbye.
There's even a trade-in system where, if you already have a horse in addition to the stolen one you want to keep, the black market merchant will deduct the price of your old horse from the cost of his services.
Nice.
And if I deduct the price of yours, this is what I get. Take it or leave it.
A couple of other stealth-related additions: you can now throw rocks as a distraction, and you can also whistle in stealth now. Basically, if you're crouching instead of calling for your horse, Henry will do a quiet whistle that can draw enemies to you, which is especially useful if you're trying to take the stealth approach in combat. Stealth combat is something I definitely need more time with. Early-ish game, it's extremely similar to KCD1, but we'll revisit this topic when I can post a full review. Quite
Nice.
frankly, I haven't needed to stealth kill much because with my experience from the first game factored in, I haven't really struggled when fighting multiple enemies, which was the main reason I'd ever stealth kill in the first game to begin with. Anyway, before moving on to performance and bugs, at least my impressions there, which I want to talk about, we should cover blacksmithing and alchemy, and I
Nice,
single
nice,
those
nice,
out
nice,
because
nice.
of all the mini-games in KCD,
Okay,
these
okay.
are the new or updated ones. Blacksmithing, of course, didn't exist before, and alchemy has quite a bit more to it, so let's start there.
By the way, alchemy was annoying as fuck, and I am excited about freaking smithing.
Now, keep in mind, I loved alchemy in the first game, but if you didn't and thought it was tedious, you probably won't like it in KCD2 either, because the foundation of this system is the same. But, in my opinion at least, everything they've changed or added has been for the better. Now, granted, certain small additions to the process don't make much of a difference, like you now have to lower your pot onto the flame to get it boiling instead of using the bellows, and the bellows are now only used for specific potions that need to be boiled hotter. But what I really loved and mostly want to talk about here are the new potion variants. In KCD2, you'll quickly notice that each type of potion has 3 types: weak, regular, and strong, and which version you get comes down to 2 things: your accuracy in following the recipe, and the quality of your ingredients, because one thing to keep in mind is that in KCD2, herbs and flowers you collect now go rotten like food did in the first game, so to avoid that, you need to dry your ingredients on a rack to preserve them. Maybe that sounds annoying, but it's not. Drying your ingredients is free, there's a rack next to most alchemy benches, and drying them also brings their quality up to 100%, so it's well worth doing.
Okay.
Anyway, the better quality potion, the more and stronger effects it will have. So, with Marigold, for example, a regular version will heal 25 points of health per minute and helps cure a hangover if you have one. But a strong Marigold potion will heal 40 points of health per minute and instantly cures your hangover.
Ooh, okay,
Another
okay,
example,
this sounds
even a weak
interesting.
save your schnapps will save your game, but a strong one will not only save your game, but it'll also heal you and increase your stats for 5 minutes. So, if you save right before a tough situation, you'll go into that situation strengthened up. The variants just add a lot of depth to alchemy and make potion use a lot more fun, at least with the strong ones. Since I brought Save Your Schnapps up though, this has been known, but they are indeed still in the game, although I will say Warhorse were definitely telling the truth when they said KCD2 autosaves more. I have had 0 frustrating losses of progress, plus autosave a generous amount, so where you'll actually need the savior snaps, or at least where they'll be nice, is when you're out exploring in the open world but aren't doing a specific quest. Then the game can go a long time without autosaving, and I mean, that said, while I can't tell you what to do, I would recommend just engaging with alchemy once you play. It makes everything a lot more fun, and if you want to save your game more, Savior Snaps is your friend, and it's
And I hope that they get the automatic brewing like they did in the first part. Of course I skilled that one.
easy to make. Next up though, let's talk about the new blacksmithing minigame. This was famously cut from KCD1, kinda weird since Henry was raised as a blacksmith, but we finally have this minigame, and, well, in my experience, so far at least, it's pretty simple. You can find or buy blacksmithing components. I tended to find them when shooting down bird nests, plus they can often be stolen. And then those components can be used after you find or purchase sketches which tell you what you need to craft a sword or whatever it is you're looking to make.
Fair enough.
The actual minigame itself is really simplistic. You just heat up a piece of metal until it's yellow, and then bang on it in what is essentially a rhythm game. Henry will whistle once you found the right pace. Then that's it. Henry will comment once it's done, and then heats it one last time before quenching. Honestly, it's right in line with the other minigames. It's less complicated than alchemy, but more complex than pretty much anything else. It fits right in. So, to wrap this video up, let's quickly talk about the technical side of things. And also, by the way, if you've enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, as it really helps my content get out there. YouTube puts so much stock in likes, and there will be plenty more KCD2 coverage here over the next month, so feel free to subscribe if interested. So, that said, if you're worried about performance, well, I can't say don't be, because I've been playing this game on first a 4080 and then a 4090, but what I will say is on that equipment, the performance has been very good, very stable.
Good, okay.
On absolute max settings, ultra everything, 4K, with DLSS on, I'm getting about 95 frames per second on average. Sometimes going above 100, sometimes dipping into the 80s, but the only time I've ever had any visually noticeable frame drops, to my eye at least, is when the game saves. Occasionally, when autosaves happen, I'll drop to like no FPS for a couple seconds, which is annoying, but hopefully it's something that can be fixed. Speaking of potential fixes, well, if you're worried about bugs, at least on PC, I think I can say that you shouldn't be. Warhorse said at the very first KCD preview event that I attended back in, I think, July, that they felt like KCD2, the state of it 5 months ago, was already more polished than KCD1 is right now, after all the patches.
Good. Okay,
and
fair enough.
I can attest to that 1,000 times over. I've ran into 0 meaningful bugs, 0, and by meaningful, I mean the absolute worst bug I've had was a missing piece of dialogue. No broken quests, no forced reloads because I couldn't progress, no falling through the map, nothing of the sort or anything even close to that. This game, at least up until the point I can't talk past, which I haven't played past anyway, is incredibly polished on PC. Anyway, I think that...
I mean, that's not a guarantee that nothing will happen, but this sounds already extremely nice.
...is all for me today, and keep in mind...
Okay, so Neonite, just... Okay, all those things he said sound extremely nice. I mean, alchemy, will I do it? Probably not, or I will do it because alchemy in the first game was also pretty powerful. I'm gonna say it like this because at the end of the day, a buff is a buff. But it was extremely annoying, for me at least. I mean, I didn't like it in any kind of way. But I mean, if it's better, then it's better. The smithing, though, this sounds... it doesn't sound quite complicated or too, well, I mean, hard. But at the end of the day, if it's fun, it's fun. So I have to try that one. They made the combat better. Good. Because the first one just, I mean, it's, it wasn't that it's extremely bad, but let's be honest here, it wasn't the best, the perfect parry, or the master counter, or master for block. It was just too powerful. You could just basically do that. And most of the time, if you actually did have your fights, you needed to bump up that skill very particularly high, or you just wouldn't defeat an enemy, at least at the beginning, if you knew your stuff, of course. But most of my kills were stealth or bow, And after grinding up the fighting skill, then after that I actually started to, well, fight with swords and shit. So, every single thing that they said, or that Neon said, sounds extremely nice. Especially the horse stealing. I am super freaking excited for the horse stealing. And it might sound a bit funny, but I am not a fan of stealth in that game. I stole a lot of shit, don't get me wrong. I stole like entire towns clean. But I wasn't a fan of it. It was fine. Not really. If they actually made the stealth better, fantastic. I'm gonna use that definitively. But this horse stealing just sounds so like a quick buck. You can just make your money pretty quick. You're going around, oh, there is a horse to steal. Let's just do it, because I can. Boom, some gold, nicely done. Let's get the fuck out. But as it is, well, I hope Acolytes are just as hype as I am. And good night.